Asia Leadership Fellowship Program for inviting me to be here today. I also would like to say that the person who introduced me, Mr. OGAWA, he met me about 20 years ago when he was in the Japan Foundation in India. Because at that time, I took a group of Sri Lankan journalists to India. This was during the time of our war. And we went to India to learn how Indian media was handling conflicts in their country, that we could learn something from them. And so long association with, I have a lot of reason to be grateful to Japan, because we benefited from Japan as early as the year 2000 or so. And then I was here again in 2011 as one of the fellows in I-House. And one of the memories I have is of going to the peace museums in Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and the island, Okinawa, and thinking to myself that we in Sri Lanka also need to have peace museums. But we do not have peace museums in our country yet. And the reason for that is that although our war is over 10 years, it is over for 10 years, there is still no agreement about what that war was about. Was that war one to unite our country? Was that war one for the liberation of minorities, separation of the minorities? Was it a war against terrorism? We are still not very much in agreement. And we are also not in agreement on the way forward. How do we move forward? Do we move forward by going back to the past and seeing what went wrong in the past? Do we go back to the past to ensure that there is accountability, that those who committed crimes, human rights violations, that they are brought to justice? Or do we not go back to the past, but instead move to the future, letting the past be buried? Because going back to the past is very controversial. It makes people very angry. It divides our society. So let's go to the future without going back to the past too much. So these are some of the major issues that are there in our country, and why we cannot have peace museums at this time, though I think it is something that we need and we can learn from Japan in that respect. Now, unfortunately, I have pressed the wrong button and the photograph has gone away. I wanted to get it back. I am not so sure how to do that. Yes, it came back. Okay. Now, this is, I want to show you Sri Lanka because maybe you're not very sure where Sri Lanka is. It is a very beautiful country. It is very beautiful. It has got, in a small area, it has got beautiful beaches, all the water is surrounding it. It has mountains. It has ancient historical sites going back 2,000 years. It has a cosmopolitan life in Colombo. It has a nice nightlife, all that. In a small area. This is why Lonely Planet, the tourist guide, ranked it #1 for 2019. So this year it is ranked #1. It has also got warm people, friendly people, unlike myself. We are Sinhalese, we are Tamils, we are Muslims, we are Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. Like the the Vice President said, like Japan is also becoming a multi-ethnic society. So maybe there is something that we also can offer who may be going in that direction. And I noticed that when I came in the aeroplane from Colombo, that almost all the people on the flight were Sri Lankans. Sri Lankans who are living here, who are working here. They are not coming for holidays here, they are coming to work. And they're coming even with their children. So you are, and this is the first time I have been coming to Japan over the years, and this is the first time I noticed that the flight was almost all Sri Lankans. So maybe Japan also is changing. So there is something that of value, and I appreciate the fact that so many of you are here today to listen to what we have to say. But apart from the beauty of Sri Lanka, there's another side to Sri Lanka. Very violent society. There's a lot of violence in our society. For 3 decades, 30 years, we had a civil war, a war that we couldn't resolve. That was finally resolved on the military battlefield. And with so many people dying, that today Sri Lanka is taken to Geneva, to the UN Human Rights Council, on the allegation, on the accusation that there were war crimes, and these need to be investigated. But it was not only the Sinhalese and the Tamils fighting. We have had also 2 insurrections, 2 leftist insurrections in our country. The first one in 1971, another one in 88. Where the Sinhalese society, that's the majority group, the 70%, I am Sinhalese. The majority group, they fought among each other. They fought against the government, toppled the government, the leftists. And again, like in the Civil War, where about 100,000 may have died, even in these 2 insurrections, maybe 100,000 died. And finally, we have what happened in April this year in our country, when there was suicide bombings, 6 suicide bombings in one, simultaneously, 3 churches, 3 hotels. Young Islamic Sri Lankan Muslims committing suicide, killing 250 people, injuring another 500. It's a lot of violence. Why is this? Now, why is this violence? Friendly people, warm people, but as communities, we are very violent. When we come together as a group, very violent. And I think one root of that is the fear, existential fear, the fear that we will be destroyed, that we can be destroyed. And this fear is very large among the Sinhalese, the majority group, the 75% who are Sinhalese. Because as you see, we are very close to India. And the Sinhalese memory is that from India there were invasions all the time, down the centuries there have been invasions which destroyed the Sinhalese kingdoms. The Buddhist kingdoms were destroyed by the Tamils coming from India. That's one big memory. And there's a second memory among the Sinhalese people, and that is that when Buddhism was thriving in India under Emperor Asoka, much of northern India was Buddhist. Even South India, much of it was Buddhist. But then there were Muslim invasions, and today countries which were once, or areas that were once Buddhist, are no longer Buddhist, they are Muslim. So there is a fear that today, and it has been reawakened by the Easter Sunday bombings, that the Muslims might take over the country. Although the Muslims are only 10% of the population, but their population is increasing faster than the Sinhalese, and that they are supported by the Middle East, the Middle Eastern countries, the rich countries, the rich Arab countries are supporting them. The Sinhalese are feeling threatened. And when you feel threatened, then you can become very violent, and you don't want to compromise. The same with the Tamils. The Tamils also have faced the threat of the Sinhalese, that they have been dominated by the Sinhalese. Tamils are 12% of the population, Sinhalese 70%, 75%. So whenever Sinhalese and Tamils think differently on any political issue, the Sinhalese win in parliament. They are the majority. They are a permanent majority. It never changes. However many elections we have, 75% of the MPs will be Sinhalese, 12% will be Tamil. So then the Sinhalese get their way. And then the Tamils said, then we must have our own country. When they tried to get it, a lot of them died. And the Tamils also have a memory that they don't have a good place in Sri Lanka, that they are threatened in Sri Lanka. Today, about 2 million Tamils live outside Sri Lanka, 3 million Tamils in Sri Lanka. So they also feel that they are very vulnerable. And now the Muslims are also feeling vulnerable because after these attacks and the tension with the Sinhalese majority, 75% not trusting 10%, there have been also attacks against the Muslims. Sinhalese mobs going and attacking Muslims, saying that they are doing very bad things to the Sinhalese and then going and attacking them. So Muslims have a certain personal vulnerability. So this is the context in which my organization, I do our work. Religious clergy are part of the problem here. Some of the most nationalist elements in our country are religious clergy. Although Buddhism is about non-violence, the Buddhist monks have a memory that in our ancient history it says that Lord Buddha gave Sri Lanka to the Sinhala people to protect his religion. And the Buddhist monks think that they have a great role to play, they have a destiny to play, protecting Buddhism. And so they are also very nationalist, the Buddhist monks. So they are in a way part of the problem. And then we have the Islamic, the Maulavis, the Mullahs, who are also very conservative. They are also part of the problem. Now, our organization's approach is not so much to try and change their thinking. But we try to make them part of the solution. They are part of the problem, but we try to make them part of the solution, and not by ideologically, not by trying to argue with them and say your religion says this and you are doing that, but by practical action, by bringing them together, by bringing them to do something good for the community. So what we do is we form inter-religious groups at the community level. We have 25 districts in our country. We have set up inter-religious groups in 22 of the 25 districts in our country. And the inter-religious groups are then given, we train them, we give them capacity building, so that they understand. We do talk about what the origin of what the problems in our country are, the need for a just political solution so that we share power. The big nations and the small nations share power together. We talk about that. We talk also about when there has been a lot of human rights violations, you have to deal with the past. You can't avoid the past and go to the future. We talk about other countries, how other countries have solved their problem. How even in rich country like Canada, there is the French Canadians want to break away from Canada, and then what Canada has done to try and keep the French Canadians from breaking. We talk about it, we build their capacity that way. And then we also organize exchange visits. We take people from one part of the country to the other part of the country to see how those other people live. Because when you see with your own eyes, then it changes the heart. Sometimes only the head, it won't work. You have to see with your own eyes how the other people live. Then you see they are like us, and you feel some compassion, you change your mind. And then what we do is we also then provide these groups that we have formed, these inter-religious groups in different parts of the country. We provide them with some resources, a little bit of money, where they can do two types of activities. One is social cohesion activities. Happy things, like when they have a religious festival, one group has a religious festival, like the Muslims have their iftar, where they break fast in the evening, during the month of Ramadan, they fast the whole day, and in the evening they have breakfast. We provide some resources so that they can invite other members of other communities to come for it. Or we organize sports meets where children from different religions and ethnicities can come together. So that's for social cohesion. We also support them so that they can try and solve local level problems. There are problems at the local level where as a collective group, they can go and engage in conflict mitigation activities. Those are the two main activities we do. And we have created a decentralized network of throughout the country where they engage in social cohesion and conflict mitigation. And then last activity is sometimes large-scale things. They do lobbying with the politicians, where they come together in large numbers. We bring our networks together to come in large numbers to lobby, which I will talk about very briefly. Just to give you two examples, where this network that we have created has come and done some work. One was during a period, what we call the constitutional coup. Our president and prime minister started fighting, and then the president unconstitutionally sacked the prime minister and brought the old president, who the president had defeated him in the election, because saying he's a very bad man. Now he sacked the prime minister and brought the old president back. Then we said that's not correct. It's against the constitution, and we came and protested against this. And then the Supreme Court upheld and said that president cannot do that. Another example is after the Easter Sunday bombing. The people were very angry, they were upset. Then our networks throughout the country organized press conferences, organized meetings to say there must not be retaliation. You cannot retaliate against innocent people. So those are two examples of where our networks did macro, national level work. And now, at the moment, one of our small groups, in the capital called Kandy, in the old capital called Kandy, which is like your Kyoto, there is a school, a government school, which is prohibiting Muslims from wearing the Muslim dress and coming to the school. Although the government regulation says they can wear their own dress and come to the school, but the school is not allowing them to come in. So our group there is taking the case to the court. We are appealing to the Supreme Court to say that Muslim women should be allowed to wear the dress that they want, not be forced to wear some other dress. So these are some of the activities, and I think my time is coming up. And I want to say this, that we believe that the world is one family to the wise. That's one of the teachings from our religions. The world is one family to the wise. Your support is actually very important to us. Japan, but Japan traditionally does not support so much this controversial, the Japanese government, I mean, not iHouse. The Japanese government doesn't support controversial work. You give for infrastructure, you give for development, economic development, you give a lot of money. Japan has been one of the biggest donors, sometimes the largest donor to Sri Lanka. Now, of course, China is coming in, so there are problems there. But China also only for infrastructure. And China, in a way, that's a bad thing because they give loans to us. They give big infrastructure projects, they give loans, then the infrastructure project is not so efficient, then we can't repay the loan, then China takes the project and the land. So Japan has never done that. Japan is very careful in the money it gives. It gives us a lot of grants, and then it gives for loans, it does it in a way that we can repay the loan. But we don't give for activities such as ours, the controversial work. Now our work, we can't raise local funds for it because it is controversial. The work we do is very controversial in our country, even though it is good work. So we can't raise local funds, we depend on foreign funds. Currently we get a lot of it from the Western countries. Now the Western countries, they believe in human rights, but the West is also controversial in Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka, not only did we face Tamil invasions from India, we also faced Western invasions for 4.5 centuries. We were a Western colony of Portugal, Holland, and Britain. So there is anti-Western sentiment. When West does anything for us, we are very suspicious. But we are not suspicious of Japan. We are also not suspicious of China. Because we have not been historically oppressed by Japan and China. So I think, so that we have good feelings towards Japan, and our people, our masses, have very good feelings. So I think Japan can now take on the new challenge, because you are also multi-ethnic society, you are also going to face these problems in the future. So I think this is an opportunity for things to change, and I'm glad that so many of you are here, because I think you can be a powerful lobby to change Japanese government policy. Thank you very much.